This is the Analysing Anfield podcast on the Blood Red channel, bringing you the best tactical and statistical analysis of Liverpool FC.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of Analysing Anfield. I'm Josh Williams and I'm joined as ever by David Hughes. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I keep thinking about how if someone watches these episodes back to back, they're going to just see it in the evolution of my hair, just growing out and slipping back further and further, and now it's a mess.
Yeah, well, they're going to see the opposite this week with my wig. Those who are tuning in on YouTube will recognise that I have accepted defeat. Mine was just getting to a point where it was just going out and out and out, and I was going to the left wing, I was going to the right wing with it and all that. So, yeah, I just think I accepted defeat, went for a 3 all over. Hopefully it's not too bad.
Like I said tonight, I think it looks all right, mate. I think you can pull it off.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been told by a few people that I've apparently got a nicely shaped head, whatever that means. Never heard that one in my life.
Nah, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one myself, but any compliments are compliments at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, still looks bad, but you know, needs must. But yeah, Analysing Anfield. I don't know what episode this is of lockdown now. Feels about, is it week 8, week 10? I've got no clue.
Yeah, it's all made into one now, unfortunately. I think we're about 8. Yeah, there or thereabouts with 8.
Yeah. It is starting to look like a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of a turn in June, but we're not yet there. However, the fact that that's on the cards provides a bit of a foundation for the show. So trying to keep it fresh, trying to mix things up and that. But what we're doing this week, we're going to look at how well suited, let's say, each Premier League team, specifically Liverpool, obviously, and Liverpool's rivals, how well suited each team is to an abrupt return to proceedings, because obviously you won't get a full pre-season. It won't be an ideal situation, and you'll be thrown into more than likely 2 matches a week. Saturday, Wednesday sort of vibe. So yeah, we're just going to look at the details of what we can address about that. We're not yet fitness qualified, let's say, but we can address it in terms of, you know, the age of certain squads and playing styles and squad sizes and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just see where we go with it. I said this last week, but we ended up doing over an hour. But I do think this will probably be a shorter show.
Famous last words every week, aren't they?
You know, but I've said this is one of them episodes where, you know, if we go off on a tangent, it's absolutely allowed, because we're trying to fill time essentially. So yeah, we'll start. So the first kind of note that I've got down is how well set are Liverpool for a restart, considering the age of the squad. I've actually wrote a piece about this once or twice, using like a graphic that sadly I don't think I'll be able to show. In fact, we can present on this, can't we? I wonder if that'd actually work live now, and our viewers would see it rather than our faces. Maybe that's something to clarify with the producers.
Yeah, you know what? I can't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I'll maybe give that a go. But the crux of what I would share anyway is that Liverpool's squad right now is experiencing peak years, and that's one of the few Premier League teams at the moment that have a really good balance of minutes played and players that are experiencing the peak.
Do you think, just on that exact point there, Josh, do you think there'll always be a little bit of a frustration at how this kind of whole crisis has come in this period whilst Liverpool are at the peak? You know, we think like if it has an impact going into next season as well, it's really last year, this season, next season, and then beyond that, obviously it'll be about trying to find next generation, and you just wonder whether things like a trophy haul might be impacted because of all this. You know, what could they have won? I mean, we still don't know. It's all guesswork, of course, but it's just a little point there I'm thinking about.
Yeah, No, I did say the other day to me dad actually that it's unfortunate that this has coincided with Liverpool kind of hitting the prime, if you like. It's
Mm.
what Liverpool are doing right now, kind of like an acclimatization of everything that Klopp's done since he came in a number of years ago. You know, a load of players were signed at a good age and they've been able to mature better. And right at the point where they're now at the top of their game. Football, you know, is ceasing to exist in essence. Obviously, we had the whole of last season, and we've had 29 games of this season. So we have seen Liverpool's peak enough. But it's just a shame that I do think Liverpool has a bit more left in the tank, and maybe this will impact the schedule of next season, and that's going to impact. You know, say for example, when next season was starting, maybe Henderson would be, I don't know, still 29, and now he's going to be at the back end of his year, you know, things like that, just really small things. I think it gives a benefit, doesn't it, to certain players who are injured. I think specifically Naby Keita, I'd be interested to see how he performs after all this.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I've touched on a little. That maybe we'll come on to later when we talk a little bit about squad depth. But yeah, it's been good for injured players in terms of giving them an extended recovery period. But yeah, just on that point that we're talking about there, it is just a little bit. It'll be a little bit of a frustration from a Liverpool point of view that things that might be impacted next season. So I think the domestic campaign will be probably the safest competition. That as soon as it can restart, it will. But you do wonder where we're going to be in terms of like European competitions and domestic cups. You know, will like the League Cup, for example, take a hit? You know, FA Cup. Will we be able to see the Champions League restart? Obviously, whilst Liverpool are at the level they are now, they probably would have been looking to pursue that seventh Champions League honour. Maybe obviously they got knocked out this season, but next year they still have the squad to achieve it, and you just wonder whether that might be impacted. It's just a minor point really, but it could turn out to be a bit frustrating.
Yeah. Just a little bit more on what I mentioned before about Liverpool experiencing the peak years. Just to clarify that, I think peak years are generally understood as, say, between the ages of 25 and 29, specifically for outfielders at least. And the majority of Liverpool's players this season who have accumulated the most minutes on the pitch, you got Van Dijk, Robertson, Firmino, Salah, Mane, Henderson, Alisson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum, all aged in that peak between 25 and 29. The only two players you'd say were getting a lot of minutes but aren't yet experiencing the peak is Trent and Gomez. And I think there's, I suppose, two ways of looking at it regarding specific fitness and being suited to a quick restart. But I would be inclined to think that, you know, if you're in your prime years, you don't necessarily need a match every single week to keep in top shape, sort of thing. I think I don't think any of Liverpool's players are into the 30s really of that group that I've just mentioned. I think Henderson is 29, Wijnaldum's 29. Milner's obviously pushing, I think 30, 38 or something like that, isn't it? I think it might be a bit different. But I think, yeah, Liverpool's prime is now, and I wouldn't expect that to have that much of a detrimental effect on how ready the team are to play immediately and to play, you know, 2 games in a week immediately.
Well, yeah, because obviously it's important to flag that Liverpool have been doing this for a couple of years now anyway. If you think about playing in the Champions League and then playing on the weekend, and they've juggled that demand fairly well, I think. You know, I don't remember any, certainly over the last 2 seasons, I don't remember any major kind of drop off after European fixtures, which has always been a bit of a, you know, something that people flag when they say, when they talk about sides pushing to break into into Europe, how it helps to not be playing Europe that year. But as I said, from a Liverpool point of view, that hasn't really been an issue. I think the way the squad is right now, as you point out, there's a lot of players in the peak years. I think you get the best of both elements, really, don't you? You get players who still have the energy levels to kind of hit like top level quicker than most, but then they also have that experience that maybe younger squads don't have in knowing how to just settle back into the rhythm a lot quicker. I think that's maybe the advantage that they'll have over sides that might possess a little bit more youth, is that these sides won't have the same experience that Liverpool have, and ultimately may not click into gear as quick.
Yeah. Do you think I should give a go with this presenting, see if it works?
If it works, yeah, because obviously it's no good for people who only listen, but if you want to, if the people who watch on YouTube, yeah, but people who watch on YouTube, and maybe if people do only listen to the audio, it might persuade them to check us out on YouTube sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not the best at this sort of thing, but I think I'll leave it,
Okay, well, I mean, we'll do maybe, Josh, is we'll have a play with it between now and next week's episode, and if it's something we can do, then we'll start introducing it if that's what people want.
Yeah, but just a little bit more on Liverpool's age at the minute. So I think it's what Liverpool are experiencing right now will have been intentional from the perspective of the club and from the perspective of specifically Michael Edwards, who's tasked with constructing the first team squad, because the team have been able to progress as a group to reach a point whereby they're ready to deliver, sort of thing. They're now experiencing the prime together, and I think various clubs in the Premier League tend to just constantly be in kind of a state of flux where they're not consistent. They're never really consistent. And an example I've kind of got for that is Arsenal, and when they signed Aubameyang. So he moved to Arsenal when he was age 28. And Arsenal's squad at the time, I think, was quite up in the air. I think Wenger's future was up in the air. I think they had Mislintat in charge of recruitment, and that's obviously no longer the case. And Aubameyang delivered what you would consider to be his peak at the Emirates, really. I think his scoring record's, unrivaled. Mostly, it's ridiculous. But because of the disorder around him and the poor squad construction, very few of his teammates have been able to match his ability in the pitch, and that's resulted in Arsenal have experienced the peak years of a player, but I don't think it's delivered a single trophy. I don't think Aubameyang's won a trophy at Arsenal yet, has he?
I don't think so. They had the Europa League last year, didn't he? But I think those FA Cup wins before that arrived before he come in. It just hasn't coincided with the rest of the side being at the same kind of age and level. It's funny with him because his goal scoring record's ridiculous, and he's been a really good Premier League player. But when people are naming the kind of top 5 forwards, he doesn't really get a mention, and I think a lot of it does come down to the playing personnel and the kind of disorder that's been at Arsenal over the past few years. And now now they've kind of like laid the tracks to do something good with Arteta, and unfortunately, by the time that probably happens, Aubameyang will be over the hill. I imagine.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next point. The issue with that is that now Arteta's came in, he might now get on track. But the moment Arteta has improved the current squad to a level whereby they're much better, and say, for example, Xhaka's doing a lot of stuff on the pitch. When Doozy improves, Kieran Tierney's there, William Saliba at centre back. All these players start to improve. Once that happens, Aubameyang will be regressing. If he's still there, I think he runs out of contract in the summer, actually, or the summer after. But yeah, that's the issue with when your squad construction, your squad building isn't really aligned towards kind of an end goal, an end vision sort of thing. So yes, sticking with ages before we move on to what else is a factor. I think there's a variety of clubs currently in the Premier League that have young squads and that have old squads. for me, I mean, logic suggests that the young squads should generally thrive, if you like, with a situation like this, whereas the older squads should find it a little bit tougher. I think United and Chelsea in particular are two teams that have quite young squad, young players that are far from the peak on the whole, really, and they're going to look to deliver and compete for silverware in maybe 2 years' time when they're all approaching the age of 25. Whereas at the back end, I think you've got Palace, you've got Watford, possibly Burnley and possibly West Ham in there amongst like the oldest teams in the league. I'm not sure where Everton are in that group, Dave.
So Everton seem to have a lot of young key players, but then they also have some. They seem to don't really have anyone in and around the peak. It seems to be a little bit just over the hill, or quite a few fairly young up and coming players. Like you have like Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, who are obviously really important. But then you'll have like Fabian Delph, who's obviously of a certain age and kind of past his peak years. So there's a blend, but I think good foundations to build on. Just for anyone who picked that up there, me dog picked up for this walk with the dog walker. So yeah, apologies.
Second week in a row.
Yeah, that's it. Well, he
again, wasn't Dave making that noise?
Yeah, although I have been known to do that, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So Everton are somewhere in between, but they've got good foundations, I think. Can I just on one of the teams flagged there, though, Josh? I thought it was interesting, maybe just to get your general thoughts. You know, we can't consider Watford as being a fairly decent side in terms of recruitment, and they do seem to do some good stuff. But I did find it interesting that they're quite on the older age of the spectrum, because you'd imagine maybe this is a harsh term, but maybe if they're like a feeder club, so club who recruits fairly well and then sells for profit, imagine they'd tend to have a fairly young side, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was quite surprised as well. Just to put into perspective how old Watford and Palace generally are. Of the 50 highest average ages, of the 50 highest average age starting lineups that have been named in the Premier League this season, 40 of 50 comprise of Watford or Palace teams. The oldest average age that Roy Hodgson has selected is 30.7 years old, and the oldest Watford side was under Quique Sanchez Flores, an age of 30.6. They are known for the recruitment over there, and I think they've got a real expansive network. But I think it's quite, it's not particularly modern in the sense that it's really data driven, is it? It's quite like, it's about contacts, it's about relationships with maybe certain agents and stuff like that. It's about knowing certain countries and certain continents.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by it, but I think they do manage to balance it by the odd 30 million sign of Ismail Assar, for example, last summer.
Yeah, they've announced that signing of Papa Gay, is it? Papa Guy?
Yeah.
Which looks quite good, but yeah, that's a fair point. Actually, you don't know how much of it is data driven, or maybe just from good relationships.
I did read a piece in the Athletic on that, and I'm pretty sure it was kind of I don't know. It came across in the piece that were very. I don't want to say the words eye test, because people look at, you can either be eye test or you can either be data driven. I think the large majority of clubs in the modern day merge the two, but it just come across in the piece that Watford really, based on perception, based on trusting really experienced scouts and things like that. And obviously they're doing it right to an extent, at least, because they brought Alisson to England, who I think is a ridiculous player. He brought Sarr to England.
Another really good player.
Yeah, and I think they've got a few little players out on loan that are quite young, who have really acquired fame in England just yet, but the really talented youngsters. I think there's particularly one called, I think he's Chucho Hernandez, is it, in Spain? I think he's on loan at Huesca or something like that.
You know what? He come up on a search of mine recently, and he looked good. And I was like, "Who's this?" I think I was looking for like kind of stars under the radar, you know, one of those type of pieces. But yeah, it was tapped back to Watford, yeah. Which is interesting that you flagged him there. Yeah, well, I suppose if you have a scouting system that you trust so much and deliver so much that they're better than anything they said, or you know, anything they can provide. If someone's so good and you know that they've got a really good success rate, then it's almost perfect for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think generally it hasn't caused them too many problems. Obviously, they not having the greatest season at the minute, but I think generally that the age of the squad hasn't been too problematic for them. But it may be once football restarts, because of the lack of the season and the head down on straight into a load of games basically. Just for a little bit of perspective on United and Chelsea, the youngest 50 average starting lineup teams, 15 of them United teams and 10 of them Chelsea teams. The youngest team overall all season was a United team, average age of 24. Liverpool, by contrast, haven't appeared in the bottom 50 youngest and haven't appeared in the oldest 50 either. So again, it comes back to what we were saying before about very much in the pro years. Hence why maybe the summer signature of Tino Werner would make a degree of sense, just to start, if we are creeping up towards, a group of a squad going towards the age of 30, maybe start adding the odd little bit of quality who's approaching his peak, so that you can just redo that cycle again.
Yeah. I mean, you want to try and phase that in, don't you? Rather than not that Liverpool would do this, but just I'm talking about in generally clubs. You want to try and phase that transition in rather than coming to one window and trying to do it all in one go. I think if you look back at when Ferguson retired at United, that's a problem they kind of had, where suddenly it was like, well, we need a brand new squad, we've got a brand new manager in place, and it was trying to do too many jobs at once, I think, and that's why they kind of almost collapsed, didn't they? And they're only now finally on the rebuild after a good few years of kind of nothingness.
Yeah, I can't help looking at Chelsea as well. I mean, if they do things right in the market, I think they're on the verge of having a really good period of maybe 3 years with, I mean, just for a bit of context on that, Mason Mount, Thiago Tomori, Reece James, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Tammy Abraham are all aged 22 or younger. They're all English, all English, all from the academy, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, if Chelsea add very subtly to there, like Liverpool did with Van Dijk and with Alisson, adding the odd little transformational type player, I think Chelsea could have a really good future ahead of them. And that specifically relates to, surely those players are going to, hit the ground running, if you like, in comparison to a player who's over his 30s.
Yeah, and they can obviously buy as well, Chelsea now, can't they? That I'm pretty sure the ban was being set.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I mean, they've obviously added the Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah.
That's an interesting sign. See how he does. It'd be interesting to see actually how details of his arrival in London works, in terms of, say, for example, the Premier League doesn't get started until, and it crosses over when he's actually due to join up with his new club. Do you know what I mean? Whether he can play or not, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Especially when the Dutch league's finished.
I was just about to say that, yeah, considering obviously their season's over, that kind of makes him free to join whenever. But then, will the Premier League then face a bit of backlash if sides are allowed to bring in, new stars to play in the remainder of this campaign? It seems a bit of an unfair advantage. It wouldn't surprise me actually if they put a stop to that. Said this one is treated as if the window's still still closed, and you can't really bring in any new players.
Yeah, I personally can't see it. Like, and just going back to me days on Football Manager a few years ago, I do think you have to register your squad for the season, don't you?
Yeah, if Football Manager is anything to go by, yeah, you do. Well, I mean, we know you do for Europe, don't we? So it's obviously must be the same for the Premier League. Yeah, that's got to be the case, surely.
We'll move on anyway to what is obviously going to be another factor on how equipped certain teams are to finish the season in a short time, and that is squad size. Now, I know this is something that you've tackled recently. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll actually just share something with you now, so you can see what I looked at. I've just sent you there on our chat there. But yeah, it was basically just an indication as to how many players have been used per Premier League card this season. And interestingly, if we look at initially Wolves, just because I think they're a good one to flag, Wolves have only used 20 players this season in the Premier League, which is quite small, smallest in the division. And if you're looking at Wolves as an example, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of cope with a more condensed number of fixtures in a short space of time, because obviously there's a chance of getting more fatigued and picking up more injuries. And I think they could struggle, especially when they've still got something to play for in terms of trying to catch United 2 points behind now, and they're obviously trying to chase the Champions League position. Whereas United have had to use a lot more players this season. Now, the sides who've had to use more players, so like the Tottenham's, United's, West Ham's, they're around 28, 29. They've used the most. A lot of that has been through injury, but I think it does indicate that they've got a bigger pool of players to use. Premier League proven players to rely upon in terms of keeping the team fresh for these kind of 2 or 3 games a week. Liverpool point of view, that they're kind of somewhere in the middle, where a little bit closer to the fewer used players than the most. They've used 23.
Same as Everton, actually.
Yeah, I've just spotted that actually, which is interesting. But I mean, you'd be pretty confident that Liverpool will be able to kind of juggle their playing side quite well, because they've been doing it for, as I touched on earlier, they've been doing it for a little while, haven't they, with the Champions League, and they've got balance to play that can come in. If you think like Oxlade-Chamberlain, for example, isn't what you perceive as a starter, but he comes in and he's a really good player. So yeah, I think Liverpool should be okay.
Yeah, I think generally Liverpool's depth has improved over the years. It's something that we just didn't have for absolutely ages. It felt like. I remember the last time we had a squad of like more 15 players that were actually decent.
Yeah.
But looking at Liverpool's squad, it does look quite strong to me. I think we've got. I looked at it before, and we've got I'd say about 8 players capable of playing in central midfield, and that includes Curtis Jones. But considering there might be a game every 3 weeks for a period of about a month, I don't think including an absolutely fresh Curtis Jones would be that much of a drop off against an opponent who maybe has played the last 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Possibly a bit of a problem with Liverpool's front 3. Obviously you've got Origi and Minamino and Shaqiri, who hasn't been able to get fit all season, it feels like.
What is the story with that, Josh? I've been trying to get my head around it. I'm hoping maybe you might have a little bit more knowledge on it. So
I have no idea.
It's fitness then? It's not fitness, or is fitness, or
I don't know.
It's bizarre.
I really don't know. It's a strange one, really strange one. I think if Liverpool were having more problems, it'd be a bigger storyline, a big talking point. But because we've been just fine, and because the front 3 haven't suffered any problems injury-wise, we haven't really needed them. But it has been really weird, and I think just a little side note on that and how I think that may relate to Timo Werner. There's been a few a few reports here and there that Liverpool's chase for him is going to go a little bit cold this summer because of the coronavirus and all that stuff like this, how it's going to impact finance. But I think what's most likely to impact regarding that is the sale of Shaqiri and the sale of maybe Origi, which I think we will have been banking on, maybe even the sale of Lovren. I think we will have been expecting to get a bit of money for these players, and I think now, looking at the likes of, say, for example, a Bournemouth, who we usually sell quite frequently to, they're less likely now to be able to shell out 25 million on Divock Origi. They're likely to be a lot more stringent and perhaps even give a kid a chance as a means of saving a bit of money. So I think that's where any Werner problems will pop up. I think it'll be to do with what Liverpool can get regarding sales rather than what Liverpool want to shell out for a player like Werner. I think they'll just want to, naturally recoup some of the money through sales, and it'd also be a bit mad to invest in a player like Werner if you're going to keep Shaqiri, Origi, and Minamino, because that means you've got at least one player there who's virtually doing nothing every week.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It'll just be interesting to see what the market's like, and some people might be listening now and thinking, well, Liverpool are doing really well. We've seen the accounts. Why do they need to sell to buy? They don't as such, but the owners have come in and they've implemented a business model that's been really successful. The evidence is there. So why would they opt to then change that model and start spending willy-nilly? I don't know.
Yeah, I think what it is my perception on that has always been that that's just good business in a way. That's just, for me, keeping things efficient. And dedicating funds to exactly what you need, keeping a fine balance of things. And if you start signing attackers while you currently have 3 backup attackers who aren't getting a lot of minutes, you end up just getting a lot of basically money that you're shelling out that isn't really contributing at all to what you're doing on a pitch.
It'd be interesting to see what the wages are as well for the 3 of them. Whilst I don't imagine to be super high, I imagine Shaqiri be on a half decent wage because he come in fairly cheap, didn't he? And when someone normally comes in quite cheap, you see a little bit more of the budget allocated to their wages then to kind of sweeten the deal. I don't know whether that needed with Shaqiri because Liverpool would have been one of the biggest clubs he's played for, so he would have probably jumped at the chance to do so. But you don't want just wages basically going down the pan, do you?
No, just a little bit more on Liverpool's front there, and I think this ties in with the viz that you've just sent me, and Wolves being top of it for least players used. And injury prevention will come in a lot to this sort of thing. Liverpool's front 3 never seem to get injured, and I think Wolves are renowned really for being the best in the league for preventing injuries. So maybe that's an influencing factor on why Wolves are the only team all season to have used as few as 20 players. And I think that's likely to impact the Premier League once it restarts, because if you say, for example, Spurs, who have used the most with 29, that, as you said, that could be due to injuries, and if that's something you're struggling to control, I know Ndombele's had a few problems and it's got to a point where they're considering sales and stuff like that. I think that's going to be quite an influencing factor that we didn't actually note on the agenda, but injury prevention is obviously going to play a massive part.
Yeah, because this is one thing I did say in a kind of a piece that I wrote around this, is that Wolves. I mean, look, most teams will want to be in a position where they don't have to use a lot of players. It makes sense. You want to use your core best group. It'll obviously be by design. I think for Wolves, they've got a really set system, so they want to maintain keeping the best players to kind of execute it. I think they've done that really well. The sides who used a lot more players, like Tottenham, as you've just touched on, they're the perfect example. Think of all the players they've had certain kind of various injuries this season. Kane, Ali, Ben Davies. I mean, you've said Ndombele there. There's loads, so it wouldn't have been by design for them to have to do that. But the positive maybe for them could be that with that prolonged period of allowing players to get fit again, they could have a bigger pool in terms of players to choose from and players to rotate with. Whereas Wolves, if it does start getting weighing a little bit heavy on their legs, you don't really know what you've got in reserve beyond that 20.
Yeah, I think another factor that comes into it will be, the versatility of your players. I think generally if you sign versatile players who can play in a variety of different positions, that then allows you to have basically a smaller squad. Liverpool might have had to invest in a backup right back in the past few years if we didn't have a player like Milner or a player like Joe Gomez who can play centre back and right. So that's allowed Liverpool to have, one fewer player in the squad. And I think Liverpool, if you look at, Premier League teams, I think Liverpool have probably got one of the most versatile, if not the versatile squads in the whole division. I think Milner, he's played every single position, centre back and goalkeeper. I think Wijnaldum's, I don't think he's played as a fullback, but I think he's played as a centre back. He's played as a false nine away at the Nou Camp. I think Henderson eventually will get to a point in his career where he does a bit of what Milner does and just plays anywhere he's needed and just does a job. Trying to think of some other players. Firmino could clearly play as a number 10, could probably play as an 8 or something like that. Mane's played on both flanks. Salah's played as a number 9. So this allows you to
Alisson play in defence.
Yeah, or centre mid.
Yeah, centre mid.
But I think this is the perks of signing versatile players, and obviously Liverpool won't plan ahead to sign versatile players for a situation like this. But it looks like it's going to come in handy.
I agree.
I think generally as well, you might be even willing to pay a premium for these types of players.
Yeah, I agree. I think it always helps because you just don't know. We kind of reference an Everton situation there. They found themselves without a central midfielder this season because the guy they brought in to replace Idrissa Gueye, Gabaman, he picked up an injury very early on. Has basically missed the whole season. So now you're without a kind of number 6 destroyer. That's been a big miss. Whereas if you recruited the defenders, if you recruit a defender who could potentially drop into that kind of number 6 role, which there's plenty out there. In fact, I think Barcelona's, they were linked with the 20-year-old of Barcelona. What's his name?
Todibo.
Yeah, Todibo. Yeah. Todibo can play as a number 6, and if they would have recruited him, he could have maybe been a player that could have stepped up and kind of filled that void through the season. So that's just an example of maybe aiming to kind of recruit players who can play multiple positions because you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. So obviously we've just talked a little bit about squad size there, but do you think there's any clubs specifically that will struggle regarding the size of their squads and that might have a bit of a detrimental effect? I mean, the first team that came to mind for me, I straight away just thought Man United. Just because they let a few players go last summer, and they don't really seem to have replaced them and got really numbers in. But having said that, I did have a little look at the squad before, and it's not as what's the word? It's just not as not as bare as I thought.
Yeah, no. As I said, if you look at that Viz there, they've used quite a few players this season because of injuries, but they've got players to choose from. It's just whether they've got that real quality in that depth. It's whether they can kind of go into the reserves, bring players in, and the quality of the sides can maintain, because their first 11 with everybody fit, it's a good side. People like to take the mick out of United, but they quietly kind of improved a lot on the pitch, and their first 11 is up there now, especially with Bruno Fernandes in there. If you put Pogba in the team as well, it's a good side. But beyond that, I still think they're in that position where you touched on earlier about with Liverpool, who kind of had a solid kind of 13, 14 good players previously, but didn't maybe have anything beyond that. I think that's where United are at the moment. They've got a good kind of first call, but in the underneath that, it's not maybe what they'd be hoping for. So yeah, they could struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I think that the final influencing factor that we want to touch upon is style of play, because some styles of play will be a bit more physically demanding than others, and I think personally it's safe to say that Liverpool, for me, are arguably the most intense team in England in terms of the physical demand on the shoulders of players. And I was just thinking maybe that'll be adjusted, considering the fact that there'll be no crowds, or looking highly likely that there'll be no crowds at least, and B, a bit of an added need to conserve energy, considering possibly be playing every 3 days.
Yeah, I think obvious one that might stand out. Just on Liverpool, actually, I just want to agree with what you said. Yeah, although just before we continue with this topic, how beyond the title being confirmed, which could be within 3 games at most, beyond that, how do you think Liverpool actually going to approach the rest of the season? Like, because we're kind of talking about it, aren't we? As if they'll be trying to save energy here for this, and maintaining energy levels for games one after the other. But after the title's confirmed, there's not really anything much to play for unless they're pursuing that points total.
That's a good point.
Yeah, how much will they actually be kind of? I don't know. How much will they care? I can't really think of a better term than asking that. How much will they care? They've kind of won the title.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, because I did have it in mind before all of this that I really wanted my team to break, record number of wins, if possible, record points tally, 100 points and all that sort of stuff. But thinking about it now, if the summer break that a player gets is now, and once we start, we're kind of going to finish the season and then almost immediately go into next season. I think Klopp will almost want to give virtually all of his players a decent amount of minutes to get them all up to speed. Whereas I think if this hadn't happened, if everything was as normal, I think he would have just largely kept his starting 11 intact until the end of the season. So maybe because of how long every player's gone without a proper game of football, maybe he'll be more inclined to play the likes of Minamino, Origi, Keita, players like that. Massive.
Yeah. I also think even in terms of trying to break the records, I just wonder whether they'll think, there's always going to be the caveat of this season kind of getting broken up and then restarting the neutral grounds, and people are always going to be trying to dismiss them. I just wonder whether you'll think, what, we'll just finish the season as champions, we'll start our preparation for next season to go again and kind of achieve all these records that we would have liked to achieve this season next season, without giving any excuses for caveats and things.
Yeah, no, it is tricky, and it would be a real shame if down the line this season's kind of known as the coronavirus season, rather than like the season at Liverpool were just immaculate. Really, I mean, how many points have we dropped? How many points have we dropped? We've lost
is it 4, isn't it? Yeah. Is it 5, 4 or 5 that you drop? I can't even wait. Maths. Struggling with me maths here. Considering we're meant to be like 5. Data writers and stuff. 5, which is ludicrous, really. One loss and 1 draw.
After 29 games, yeah, it's absolutely mental. So, yeah, it's an interesting question.
But beyond Liverpool, I think one team that stands maybe is, I don't know if you agree, Southampton.
Yeah, I listed a few that I think want to play with a degree of intensity, specifically without the ball. I think Chelsea are up there. I think Southampton, I labelled Sheffield United a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Man City, and I had a question mark next to Everton. just because it's kind of I'm just thinking of the games that where the majority of players permanently in transition almost, and the ball is just constantly vertical. And it's never the ball's never safe, the ball's never secured, and usually those games are a bit more intense on you physically.
Yeah, it's weird actually with Everton. I'm not really. I keep to and fro from how I think their like kind of style of play is on Ancelotti, and in truth, I'm not 100% sure. I thought I had an idea of what it is, but I think I just need to be honest and say we need to see a little bit more of them, see what they're going to be like. I don't think they're going to press as intense as they were, but the sample size is just too small. So yeah, I think it is just going to be a little bit chaotic for the rest of the year until they kind of have a bit of a pre-season and start drilling how they actually want to play under him. So the question mark is probably the best bet at the moment.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I'm quietly, confident that Liverpool are going to be absolutely fine regarding this restart is because of how, the operation that the club seems to have behind the scenes of fitness-wise. It seems to be, really cutting edge. It seems to be leading really in the industry. And if you look back, it's quite interesting, specifically in the Premier League. I think Wenger obviously started to dominate when he came to England. He overhauled the diets of his players, didn't he? Things like that.
Yeah.
Then Mourinho had a bit of a period of dominance. I think he's got similar ideas of fitness. And I think Spurs had a period of dominance, although they didn't actually win a Premier League. For me, they were the best team over a period of 2 years. Under Pochettino, they were really intense. And I think Liverpool now are the fittest team. And I think usually, it goes without saying, really, but the fittest team in the division usually tends to do quite well.
Well, they're always there or thereabouts, aren't they?
Yeah, but in a lot of occasions, though, they win the title. The fittest team does tend to be the champions on quite a few occasions, certainly really close to the top of the table. So I think Liverpool's current game would not be possible if they weren't absolutely physically tuned to perfection. And I think, poaching the likes of Mona Neme, who's the nutritionist at the club, and Andres Conmeyer, who I think is the fitness, both from Bayern Munich. I just think that what Liverpool do behind the scenes, whatever it is, I'm not much of a fitness expert, but whatever it is, I think it's working, and it's going to be probably better than what other clubs have got in preparation for this restart.
Yeah, I agree. I've got a general question for you. I feel like putting you on the spot a little bit, so it might be a question where you might be able to answer, but if you had a bit of a think about it, you may do. But I'm just curious for your thoughts on: is there any kind of concern creeping in with the idea of the managers you were just talking about there? Is there any concern that obviously in football, great managers and sides tend to peak, but then teams tend to find ways to counter their whatever they're doing really well? And you've just listed a few examples: Wenger, Mourinho, Pochettino. There's a few examples there. Are you concerned that if we're coming in kind of year 3 of this, or season 3 of Liverpool's truly elite kind of performances, are you worried that any of the Premier League is going to start finding a response to how good they are, and trying to figure them out a little bit?
Yeah, I am a little bit. Yeah, I think even the most perfect tactics of the past have eventually reached a point where they become a little bit stale. And I think Liverpool's as good as it looks right now, and that sort of thing. You just don't want teams to eventually start to find answers to you. But I think a simple solution to that is just to consistently find different ways of attacking. That's the crucial thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Liverpool will be found out defensively. Specifically, I think it's more likely to be, the details of how Liverpool are. Teams find a way to nullify that. But if Liverpool can keep just finding different ways around that, specifically by signing additional little tools like a Timo Werner, or like a number 10 or an alternative centre mid or something like that, then I think you'll be fine. But it's whether you rest on your laurels, I think is probably going to be the problem. Have you got any thoughts on that then? Or?
Yeah, I'm actually similar to you. Although I didn't think of a really good point that you just brought up there that I overlooked, is that I think it is really important to have the solid defensive foundations, because if they're in place, it means you're not going to be getting battered at the other end. You're going to have those foundations where you're always going to be pretty solid in games, and it is just about finding new ways to attack. So I thought that was actually a really good point that I didn't think of. But yeah, I think that is a concern, because if you look through the history books, it's very rare that you see the truly elite sides and elite managers kind of stick at the very top for longer than 2 or 3 years without having to evolve again and do something new. Even like the great kind of Barcelona side under Guardiola, they had that period from like 2009 to like 2011ish where they're unbelievable. But even that, all right, I know Guardiola moved on eventually, but which would have caused that. But you did feel like even at the end of that things were starting to maybe go on a downward slope. Otherwise, Guardiola wouldn't have moved on. So yeah, it's that's it. But I think one difference is I think Liverpool will be aware of it. So I don't think they're going to be able to continue doing what they're doing in terms of playing style and attacking style. That is going to have to change. But I do think Liverpool are a club where they've got so many people behind the scenes that know what they're doing, are so smart, that I do believe they'll already be kind of laying the foundations for that next step. So it doesn't get to the point where they start losing the touch and then think, oh, hold on, we've been found out, we need to change it. I think they'll be preempting that and therefore kind of preparing for that now.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll add as well is Liverpool have been really good in the past year or so at being basically difficult to predict. I think Liverpool's 4-3-3 is quite well known, but certain details of how Liverpool play, the variety of corners and stuff like that. I think Liverpool are quite good at making the job of an analyst and an opposing team quite difficult. It's tricky to go into a match with Liverpool and have absolute certainty that Liverpool are going to do this, and when this happens, Liverpool are going to do that. I think it's gonna vary quite a lot, and I think specifically when Liverpool finally get that fourth attacker who's capable of performance of a similar level to the current front three, that then gives Liverpool absolute license to completely randomly just use a 4-2-3-1, and that's going to be completely different, spacing wise to the formation that the opponents have likely planned for and that sort of thing. So yeah, just make sure you keep signing these types of players, these versatile players who we mentioned earlier, who will provide you with a platform to just mix it up. And if you do mix it up, they won't just be in a state of shock and they won't just struggle. I don't think they ever would anyway, considering how established Klopp's principles of play are. I think certain things will change about what Liverpool do. Certain things might change about Liverpool's formation and stuff like that, but the general principles of play, identity and the intensity and the focus on occupying spaces and certain things like that will never really change too much. But yeah, I think the elements of unpredictability, I think Liverpool will always try to keep. But anyway, I think we've rounded up pretty well there. A few tangents.
Must be close to the hour there, Josh.
We are, I think, yeah.
One day we'll give someone a short episode.
Yeah, about 54 minutes I think we got there, but yeah, we went off on a few tangents, but I think that the main talking point was to do with how set up Liverpool are to return quite quickly, and I think you'd agree that they're probably one of the best set up to return quite quickly and basically get a job done.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think this is going to be all right in terms of potentially picking up back at speed, clicking into gear, and maybe better than some other sides. But we'll hopefully see anyway, because we are missing the football. want it back now.
Yeah, been a long time. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us anyway. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for getting involved, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Cheers, everyone.
And we'll be back again next week. Thanks for tuning in.